Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Jane with a little bit of an impromptu coffee chat. Many of you were up late last night with us following the story of Veronica Wolski. I didn't know her personally. And on Stu Peters today, I'm going to be covering how hospitals are starting to shut down their departments and their services because they're tightening the noose, the proverbial noose around the neck of nurses and other providers, and they're leaving. They're being fired or asked to leave. So it's really creating a shortage that is shutting down services. But more to the urgency. Last night was something that I've been fearing, and I've been actually seeing in individual anecdotal stories where people go into the hospital because they struggle with breathing from some flu or the COVID flu, and they get talked into or rushed into being sedated and put on a ventilator, which is really the end of the line because that's not the appropriate treatment for pneumonia, and it actually hastens death. But there's more going on here. You can't have all these people in a hospital. In an ICU, there are tons of people. I mean, I've managed patients in ICUs. Every service is there. Most of them are resident on that unit because they don't. It's not like a regular floor where if you need an emergency service within that you have to page them or page a code. They're resident on that unit, so they're there. And to have this many people apparently part of or complicit, quiet, in watching people be withheld treatment, life-saving treatment, and forced onto death-hastening treatment is very frightening. And I want to wake everybody up to this, just like everybody else is. Stu is, Chris from Vaccine Police, and many, many others, because this is going to come in like a circle in on all of you. Each one of us. So let's stop this now. Someone had a great suggestion, and I'm going to, on my Proton Mail, and I'm going to communicate with her more, to create groups and communities where if hospitals refuse to release someone, that this group will go and put pressure and call attention to this and get any media that they can. Veronica Wolski apparently wanted to leave the hospital. The story is, I haven't verified all my details yet, but she was placed on a ventilator. She had someone outside who was her power of attorney. I don't quite know who that was, if it was her husband or someone else. They had a physician with a medical transport waiting outside. The hospital refused to release her. That's absurd. You have to understand, you can leave medical care. You may have to sign forms, particular forms around AMA, which is against medical advice, and that just absolves the hospital of anything that happens after you leave. But they have no right to hold you. And if they're doing this, and this is not a single case. This is something that has been starting to brew up. So I want to call your attention to it. I want you to do some digging. Look at what happened overnight. She passed away in the middle of the night. God, pray for her family and all the families to come. And be very careful about going to a hospital. Don't do it lightly. Make sure you have pre-existing signed, notarized documents, your living will, things you want, things you don't want, because that's going to become very important. None of us can predict when we may have an emergency. God spare us until we sort this out. But there's something really dark happening in our hospitals. I've worked in hospitals since I was a teenager as a candy striper, and then in the information desk. And then I became a nurse. I mean, I grew up in hospitals. It was always full of people who were caring and learning and wanting to do the best. So something very dark has happened to our hospitals. Thanks, everybody. See you later today on the Stu Peters Show.